fundamental difference, Vinesh Menon, and I'll just come to Dr. Bagai right after this. Vinesh Menon, there's one fundamental difference between the pandemic and now, which I'm amazed people and PAR don't understand. During the pandemic, everyone, especially during lockdown, everyone was from home, including the parents themselves. This is a situation where schools may have been shut for physical classes, but their parents, working parents, still have to go to work. At best, there are some government employees which are working at a staggered 50% work from home. So the solution does not come by shifting it blindly to online classes, because at the end of the day, who is going to be at home when the child is ultimately studying or taking education from that? That's something no one seems to have thought about, Vinesh.
Let me tell you something more interesting. You're talking about parents going to work, that is understood. But what about children who do not go to school, but eventually go outside to the park and play, right? I don't think there is any rule which says that children should be locked inside the house, right? They're anyways going to be outside playing in the park in the evening. They're going to be breathing the same air that they would have otherwise breathed even if they go to school. So I think there is a fundamental disconnect in understanding this whole process. Yes, there are many cities where inclement weather or weather conditions sometimes stop children from going to school. For example, Mumbai rains, when rains kind of flood the roads and the entire system kind of comes to a grinding halt, schools do get shut. So schools getting shut is not the issue, but I don't think you can get into the gray area. Either you shut the schools because there is a situation, or you open the schools because the situation has calmed down. You can't do a mix of both, and you certainly cannot misinterpret the word online or hybrid. I think that definition itself is completely flawed. In what manner is being received by the parents.
And you're bang on, because I was speaking to production head Charu, was saying the same thing, that you can stop a kid from going to school, but they're still going out to the park to play. It's not that they're locked indoors in their room the entire day. So they're being impacted by the air pollution anyway. Dr. Bagai, I'll come to you last, and forgive me for coming to you so late. But the bottom line in all of these conversations is, let's realize the reason why this entire drama, this entire hassle was necessary in the first place. That is because pollution in the capital reached emergency levels here. Now you've heard from parents, from educationists, from teachers, from principals. The furthest thing on the back of their mind right now is in terms of pollution, or should a child be safe or not? Because at the end of the day, parents are having such inconveniences in their daily lives that the last priority often is, and I don't blame them at this point, is should my child even be going out at this point? It's okay if my child misses a few classes, or if my child's learning is taken back by a few days because he or she is not being able to concentrate. And that sums up how badly we've got our entire response to this emergency wrong in the first place. Forget being able to prevent it, which we have failed spectacularly for several years. We are still not being able to come up with a concrete response to this air emergency.
Good evening, everyone. So, four basic issues. I'll address them very quickly, one at a time. One is that we have allowed the situation to reach this catastrophic proportions. It's very poor governance, very poor administration, terrible communications from the administration, from the government to the schools and the parents and the children. It is absolutely Alice in Wonderland. It's a classical circus that you are informing at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night as to what the parents need to do the next morning. This is completely ridiculous and unacceptable. For the last 10 years, we have seen that the air quality during the winter months progressively goes down. Of course, this year has been totally chaotic because it's reached a figure of 999. There were some places in South Delhi where it apparently, through the international readings, had reached 1500, 1600 as AQI. Now, what is important to understand is that the health is an object, point of discussion which is non-negotiable. We can't have something as a piecemeal kind of band-aid solutions. So very quickly going forward, kids, especially under the age of 15, more so under the age of 5 and 8, are exposed in the earliest part of the morning where the humidity and the dew factor precipitates PM 2.5. So the air quality is the worst. It's the coldest also, so it affects the respiratory system the most. Remember, kids breathe twice as fast as adults. So the number of particulate matter which they can inhale is double of that of adults. They are closer to the ground height point of view, so they inhale much more of the carbon emissions. And lastly, most importantly, is kids are affected the most. There are huge amount of international studies to show a drop in IQ of 6 to 10% directly because of air pollution. There is a higher incidence of cancers in children, cardiometabolic disorders, brain disorders, loss of cognitive function, and more importantly, respiratory system gets permanently damaged. What are we doing for the next generation? Didn't we know that all this is happening year after year? Please give me just a couple of minutes. This is extremely important. Why can't we plan the calendar properly? We know that there is a particular curriculum to be done. It is not something which is cast in stone that you have to have 1 month or 1.5 months or 5 weeks or 6 weeks vacation in summer months. Why are we not capitalizing and taking advantage of the good months? Worldwide, we have to beat the weather. So this is not a unique thing. The preparedness as far as online was concerned should have been a lot earlier and a lot better. What we need to do is we need to finish a particular curriculum. I'm totally against this hybrid model. It's a complete waste of exercise, a futility of the most weird type in which some children are in class and the others are at home. What we need to do is we need to use the months which are of better weather, even using some of the Saturdays as half days to fill in those 20, 25, 30 days in a year. It's easily done. Point number 2 is keep contingency as buffer days. That means you have finished the course, but still you have 4 or 5 days which are left over in the calendar. Lastly, most importantly, is the entire school can never be air purified. There is a particular point of time as a duration of travel, be it in private cars or in buses. There is a particular time in which the kids are in open corridors, sometimes in playgrounds. So it is virtually impossible to sanitize the entire environment. We have created this man-made catastrophe. Yes. And now we are compounding the problem by not thinking this through properly. The months which are good in weather should be used.
But Dr. Bagai, how do we even...
These long, prolonged holidays...
But Dr. Bagai, how do we strike a balance? I mean, that was the solution I was going to come to, that we change the Diwali break. But Dr. Bagai, how do we genuinely balance this point that if our perception is such that once the AQI comes down from 999 to say 300, 350, we think that the worst is over and it's safe to send up children out to school, because every day we don't send children to school, there are consequences we have all noticed. We forget the fact that even for children, our equality of 300 to 350 is lethal.
Yes, so this is a very important point. That's why I'm saying we need to better utilize the better months so that we have enough buffer months and contingency for this time of the year. When the situation is bursting the roofs and everyone is crying because we can't breathe, that was 999. But most of the time in winter months, the AQIs are above 300, 350, 400. So let me explain to the viewers that every notch of PM 2.5 and SOx and NOx and carbon monoxide and nitrogenous compounds and methane, which is going up, is increasing the cardiometabolic mortality by 2-fold. We will die earlier, we will have a more miserable next generation. We don't want that to happen. We know that each and every body organ is involved with this kind of exposure to pollution. Even 250 is bad. 200 is bad. Worldwide, the norms of WHO is if it is crossing 50 to 60, we are on guard. Here we were sleeping till it's reaching 800, 900. We are allowing this to happen. It is so foolish. Why can't we have a calendar which is modified for the need of the hour? We don't need prolonged breaks all year long.
Is that the solution? Then let me, Dr. Bagai, you've come up with a very radical solution.